Am I coming?
Yeah, come.
Good morning, sir. Good morning. Shall I, sir?
Please be seated. So, Akshat Ayush.
Yes, sir.
So, what is the origin of your name? There are two names, added together.
Sir, it is sort of a family tradition. My brother also has, his name is Amit Siddharth. My name is Akshat, sir, which means unbroken or something which is difficult to harm. Ayush means someone who has a long life. It was my mother's decision, sir. She wanted me to have two names. And so my father also agreed and the family also agreed.
But why? By which name are you normally called?
Sir, Akshat.
So, Akshat, you belong to Ranchi, Jharkhand,
Yes, sir.
and you have done your BA in political science
Yes, sir.
from University of Delhi,
Yes, sir.
and you are fond of watching movies and TV series.
Yes, sir.
And the genre is suspense.
Yes, sir.
And then you are fond of Wordle and Quaddle.
Yes, sir.
Cricket also is one. And your optional are political science and international relations.
Yes, sir.
So let me ask you this question. Uh, can there be a precedent rule at the center? Precedent rule is imposed
Yes, sir.
on account of many reasons. It's provided in the constitution and otherwise also. Can there be a precedent rule at the center?
Sir, it won't be according to the Article 356, but if there is no Prime Minister or no parties or coalition of parties is able to secure a majority, then President can can directly rule the government through the bureaucracy until a suitable alliance is built or another election is held. But it won't be as per the President's rule that is normally known under Article 356.
Yeah, but normally there is always a caretaker government,
Yes,
which continues to remain in power.
yes, sir.
So the president, as such, is more of a ornamental head rather than an executive head.
Yes, sir.
But in a state, the president exercises those powers through the governor of the state. So, since you are fond of watching suspense genre, can you name at least two fictitious characters? Who were not many films have also been made, and one of them was the author was Arthur Conan Doyle, other was Agatha Christie. So, what were the names of the characters which were created by these two?
Sir, I know the character for Arthur Conan Doyle, which is Sherlock Holmes.
Hmm.
For Agatha Christie, sir, I apologize, but I do not know.
Have you seen a film called Murder on the Orient Express?
No, sir.
Hercule Poirot, he was the hero. All right. So, coming to cricket.
Yes.
So, what is a short run?
Sir, a short run is wherein a batsman has not been able to reach his shoe or his bat has not crossed the crease, and so the run is not awarded to the batsman because he has run short.
And what is the difference between a Yorker and a full toss and a short ball?
Sir, a short ball is bowled about 8 meters down the pitch, and so it typically comes around the shoulder to the batsman. Sir, around the chest and above. The Yorker, sir, comes right to the foot of the batsman's legs, to the feet of the batsman or the bat. And sir, sir, what was the third ball? Sorry.
The third one was full toss.
Sir, full toss is not pitched directly on the is not pitched on the pitch, and it comes directly to the feet to the batsman's body, but it is below the batsman's waist. Otherwise, it.
So if a batsman hits a ball,
Yes,
and it hits the opposite stump,
yes, sir.
Is the other batsman out?
Sir, only if the bowler has touched the some part of the ball, the fingers of the bowler has touched the ball, and then if the batsman if the non-striker is out of his crease, then it will be out.
What is the difference between Chinaman and Googly?
Sir,
Googly.
Yes, sir. Chinaman is a left arm wrist spinner, which is very rare. Sir, the left arm wrist spinner spins the ball towards the right-handed batsman. On the other hand, sir, a googly is the variation of a leg spinner, right-handed leg spinner, and which also goes towards the opposite side or towards the batsman, but it is a variation and not the stock ball, unlike the case for the left arm, or unlike the case for the Chinaman.
Did you see the last night the news? What is the situation right now developing in Sri Lanka, and what are the reasons?
Sir, the situation in Sri Lanka is that there is kind of a hyperinflation as in fuel prices, as well as there is a shortage in terms of the capacity for basic manufacturing goods to be produced. There is today in the newspaper it was also said that they are also lowering the electricity costs for street lights as well. So, sir, there is a general shortage of basic consumer goods, and so there in India also some refugees have come from Sri Lanka. Around 10 refugees have landed on the Tamil Nadu coast. Sir, the reasons for this are multi-causal. Firstly, sir, it is because of Sri Lanka's high debt burden. Around 70% of its GDP is currently indebted to different countries, in particular China. Secondly, sir, the rise in fuel prices across the board in the world because of the Russia-Ukraine crisis is also one important reason. Thirdly, sir, it is also said some people the journalists in Sri Lanka who have written in India have also said that there is also some degree of opposition to the government because of allegations of corruption, which is also fueling street riots in the country.
When the new Chief Minister of Punjab took over,
Yes, sir.
and what was the first thing which he announced? And he said, I'm going to announce on 23rd
Yes, sir.
on a particular day. What was that? He did the first decision which he took after taking over, and he said that I'm going to announce it on Sardar Bhagat Singh's birthday.
Sir, sorry, sir, I'm not able to.
Okay, what is the signature scheme of Punjab government?
Sir, the job provision scheme, they have announced that 24,000 jobs will be provided.
Well, that is also one of them, but one of the things which he announced was ration at the doorstep.
Yes.
So that was the signature scheme of Punjab. All right. So let me ask you that there is a country, there is a nation, and India just celebrated 50 years of its relation with that country. It is just an adjoining country. Now, which is that country, and what was the occasion? And the Prime Minister also went there recently.
Sir, Bangladesh was created in 1971, and sir, because of that, on 25th March 1971, the large-scale exodus and killing of Bangladeshis had started by the Pakistan army. So, sir, that was the celebration that was.
What is the reason why Bangladesh has been able to handle its economy much better as compared to many other countries?
Sir, I think one important step that the government took was specializing in labor-intensive exports, in particular textile and leather manufacturing and leather-based, for example, shoes exports. So, sir, one important thing that we see, for example, as opposed to India, whereas they are 80% of Bangladesh's exports are in ceramics, leather-based goods, or textiles. So they are able to produce in macro scale, as well as they are able to utilize the economies of scale, so that more countries are able to more countries prefer Bangladesh as opposed to other countries, simply because of the scale production. Secondly, sir, there is also the per capita labor cost is much lower in Bangladesh as opposed to other countries. Thirdly, sir, Bangladesh also enjoys preferences, for example, because of its least developed country status, especially in the European Union and the USA.
Last question. What brings you to the civil services? Why do you aspire to be a civil servant?
Sir, there are a number of reasons for my.
And don't give me the reason like that I want to serve the society. That's a very mundane kind of reason. What can be the actual reason why you want to come?
Sir, I want to guide policy execution. I want to lead in terms of that. I think.
Guide the policy execution.
Yes, sir. Because.
But that execution will be only limited to a few years when you will be in the field, or maybe HOD.
Sir, after that, I would be blessed to be able to guide policy formulation as well to some extent, as a secretary or in such rank in the ministries.
Okay. is one thing. Policy execution and policy formulation.
Sir,
Any other reasons why you want to?
Sir, I believe I would be able to coordinate with different departments well. I think I am a good coordinator in terms of leading different groups into one policy, so that all groups benefit based on interaction with each other.
Political science also you can make a very good career. You can be in teaching in a university and elsewhere. So why civil services?
Sir, this is a personal choice, sir. I'm not that inclined towards teaching, sir, to be honest.
Any other reason for civil services?
Sir, I want to make my family very proud. My father has been a public servant for 35 years, and it was always part of his dream, part of my dream, that he wanted me to be an IAS, sir. So that is one prominent reason as well.
As a student of political science, when I say republic, what comes to your mind?
Sir, republic is a country, it has two connotations, sir. Firstly, it is a country wherein the head of state is elected, whether directly or indirectly. For example, in India's case, the president is indirectly elected. Secondly, sir,
Anything else?
yes, sir, it implies that every individual has equal access to positions in the positions in state, and it will not be subject to only a.
That any civil services aspirants will give this answer.
Yes, sir.
But what else starts to your mind when I say republic?
Sir, it is a nation that that believes in it, that wherein the citizens have active participation.
Recollect the theory part in political science.
Sorry, sir, I'm not able to expand on this.
Is there any book named Republic?
Sir, it is a book by Plato, wherein he expanded on this. He suggested that there are three classes of citizens in his version of republic, wherein different people. His best society was the one wherein everyone was performed to their particular skills, based on the three classes that he provided. So, sir,
What three classes?
sir, the producer class, the soldier class, and the philosopher king class, or the educator or the scholastic class. So, sir, in the ideal republic, every citizen would suitably contribute to the benefit of the nation based on the best performance of their own skills.
Do you find this kind of setup in the present India?
No, sir. I think there is a great deal of disguised unemployment, wherein people are often disguised and dissatisfied unemployment, sir. Dissatisfied employment, wherein, sir, a lot of people are taking up jobs not for the spiritual enlightenment of working there, or the satisfaction of employment satisfaction of working there, but purely to provide for their families, and to ensure a good livelihood for themselves. On the other hand, sir, there is also a lot of disguised unemployment, wherein people are simply working so as to again to satisfy the needs of their families. And, sir, also, sir, I think this condition of republic, the ideal republic, is yet to be realized in our country.
What are the provisions and schemes for the senior citizens?
Sir, there is the Vayoshri Saman Yojana, wherein people who have contributed to the care of the elderly, they are awarded. Secondly, sir, there is also the Rashtriya Vayoshri Yojana, wherein a scheme wherein higher interest rates are provided to the deposits of the elderly population. Sir, there is also the Alimco organization that has been set up so that to provide artificial limbs to elderly population at much cheaper rates. Fourthly, sir, there is also the right to maintenance of Senior Citizens Act of 2007, which binds the dependents of the elderly population, the children of the elderly population, to provide for their support. And fifthly, sir, there are also a lot of vridhashrams that have to be set up in accordance with the act. At least one in every district. Sir, these are the.
Suppose children refuse to give the maintenance, then
So they can be, if the elderly population wish, they can be held accountable to law. And there have been several cases where the children of the elderly have been made to pay due maintenance consistently by the different courts.
What can be the maintenance amount?
Sir, I think that would depend on the earning of the person.
Any ceiling on that?
Sorry, sir.
Any ceiling on that amount?
Sorry, sir, I'm not aware of that.
Okay. What is your view
Yes, sir.
on the challenges in India?
Yes.
I mean, when we talk about the democracy, what challenges you see in future in India?
Sir, one challenge that I see is the growing inequality in the country. 1% of the population controls 58% of the wealth in the country. So that may fuel tensions in the future. Secondly, sir, I also see the issue of different marginalized communities not getting their due, even though we have consistently grown. There is a uh, the differences in there is a considerable gap in the socio-economic development of different groups. Thirdly, sir, there is also some degree of polarization which may be fueled in the future uh, through the so to some degree through the expanse of social media as well. Fourthly, sir, I think we are somewhat independent institutions maybe independent institutions may be becoming more politicized, and criminalization of politics is a major issue, sir. 43% of our current MPs.
Can you give some example actually where institutions are politicized?
Sir, there are, I cannot say for certain, but there are certain allegations from time to time. Political parties have raised issues against, for example, the election commission. I'm not justifying the allegations, sir, but I'm only saying that issues are being raised repeatedly. Similarly, sir, there are also allegations against the CAG as well by the opposition parties during the Rafael case. And sir, these are the examples.
Any information about the 2G audit by the CNAG?
Sir, the 2G audit was.
What happened after that?
Sir, the minister was convicted and the secretary was convicted, and sir, beyond that, sir, I am not aware of that.
Okay.
Akshat, you said you would be interested in policy formulation and policy execution.
Yes.
I understood it correctly?
Yes.
What could be the role of opinion leaders and public opinion in policy formulation?
Sir, ma'am, could you please expand on opinion leaders? I do not understand the meaning of.
Opinion leaders are the general public. Like in the morning, you have those, it may be a corner meeting, it could be in a park, people will gather around. If it is an, illiterate group, then they have a person who understands what is being said in the news or what is read in the newspapers. So they form informal groups.
Yes.
And even in election, you see that whatever this man will say, the whole lot will accordingly do.
Yes.
So those are opinion leaders. They help them formulate an opinion, and opinion is reflected in policy making. So what I'm asking you is, since you are interested in public policy formulation and execution, what can be the role, or what do you think is important, the public opinion and the opinion leaders towards policy formulation?
No, opinion leaders, such as informal groups, are critical for introducing basic problems that the administration may be unwillingly missing out on. For example, simple issues such as property taxes being raised too high, or subsidies not being provided adequately. For example, ma'am, one of the issues of Manrega was that the provisions of the subsidies were often leaking, and only about 60% of the people were getting their due wages on time. But
So does this public opinion get reflected in the policy making or in the policy?
yes, ma'am, there are we have certain
Or it is
cases.
only done at the top level?
Ma'am, I think when informal opinion groups, when they coalesce and begin strong public movements towards and with targeted demands, then certainly
Any
there can
example?
be.
A successful example.
Ma'am, one is of course the Farmers Acts that were repealed after strong public opinion in Punjab and Haryana against them. Secondly, ma'am, there is also the case of, for example, in Jharkhand, there were a lot of protests against the use of regional languages, that is specifically Bhojpuri and Magahi, in the recent exams, and a lot of protests were held regarding that, claiming that it might be detrimental to the scheduled tribe interests in Jharkhand.
So their opinion did reflect in the overall policy of the state.
Yes,
Okay. Now, you see on the television channels every day, there are debates. So those people debating, they are setting a narrative, they are setting an agenda, they're influencing public opinion.
yes.
So what do you think is the role of media in policy formulation?
So ma'am, media plays an informal role in policy formulation. For example, for example, after the Nirbhaya gang rape case, there was a lot of protests against the government and and especially criminal law, and it was equally heralded by the media, and so it led to the Criminal Laws Amendment Act of 2015, wherein even the minors of 16 to 18 years could be charged. Secondly, ma'am, media also in some ways guides policy with respect to motivating.
Exactly. Now, guides. Now, guides can be an unbiased guidance, or it can be a paid kind of a guidance. What are your views on this? Paid news, paid guidance, paid agenda setting.
Ma'am, it should be strictly and completely regulated, because media is
Regulated by?
ma'am, the Broadcasting and Regulatory Commission of the Ministry of INB. Uh, Ma'am, because media is considered as the fourth pillar of our democracy, and it is critical that media is kept as an independent institution for rational and factual policy decision making by the people as well.
You said fourth pillar of democracy. Which are the three others?
Ma'am, legislature, judiciary, and executive.
Okay. And but what is the ground reality? What is the state of media now in the country?
Ma'am, there are the media.
Not only in the country, worldwide it is happening. The gags, the curbs.
Yes, ma'am. The media in some places is very opinion guided media, I would say, ma'am. Uh, uh, on different sides of the spectrum, uh, there is some degree of so to speak, guided media. On the other hand, there is also a great deal of censorship that is going on in some countries.
Our own country? What is the state?
Ma'am, for example, in Kerala, one of the channels was Media One channel was completely banned by the Ministry of INB because of its coverage, what was considered as derogatory coverage of the citizens.
So would you include Google and Facebook into this?
Yes, ma'am. In terms of digital media, certainly it has expanded to the scale of and across the scale of.
And the kind of checks and curbs which they are now imposing?
Yes, ma'am.
Withdrawal of content?
Yes, ma'am. Yesterday only the Minister of State stated that Minister of State for IT stated that there needs to be a certain check on for example, the accounts that Twitter periodically bans, and accounts should only be banned based on continuous appeals to violence. So I think, ma'am, definitely so digital media companies such as Google, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube should also be regulated. Inequality, if not more
Okay. Since IR and Pol Science is your subject, what is string of pearls?
Ma'am, string of pearls is a theory that China is building different ports around the Indian subcontinent, from extending from Western Africa to Southeast Asia, in different parts of in different countries. For example, for example,
What is the purpose?
Ma'am, with the interest of in the Indian Ocean is an important pipeline throughout the world. It transacts two-thirds of the global oil reserves. So it could be used as for once. It could be used as a check on other countries if they wish. If they go against Chinese interests, their oil supplies and trade routes could be choked.
How does it impact India?
Ma'am, it impacts India because again, India's oil reserves mostly come from West Asia, and they could also be threatened by this string of.
Only the oil reserves, or it is a larger?
Yes, ma'am. First, ma'am, I was about to say. Firstly, ma'am, the oil reserves. Secondly, sir, I apologize, ma'am. Secondly, ma'am, there is also the issue of our security could be threatened because India has two major islands in Lakshadweep and Andaman, but beyond that, our naval experience is a little limited, and so for example, the Indian Navy continues to check piracy across.
Okay, we'll stop there. What is a failed state?
Ma'am, a failed state is an informal term for countries where the government is not respected, and militant groups are actively holding different.
Then what is a rogue state?
Ma'am, a rogue state is a state wherein which does not adhere to internationally guided policies, and often threatens of mass violence.
Piracy you just mentioned. So that is one of the things. Somalia. A failed state is in economic terms. A rogue state is which does not, like you rightly pointed out, which does not follow any international norms. Thank you so much.
Akshat, since the subject of Plato's theory of justice has already been touched upon, have you read the book called Open Society and Its Enemies?
Sir, I have the gist of it.
Okay. Who's the author?
Sir, Karl Popper.
So, what is the gist? What is the theme? What is open society and who are the enemies according to Karl Popper?
Sir, open society is a society wherein individual decision making is respected, and there are no grand theories that try to curtail individual decision making, and there is liberty of thought and action. Sir, according to Karl Popper, he considers scholars like Plato, Marx, and Hegel as enemies of open society.
Okay. And what is that thing called the approach of Hegel, Marx, and Plato?
Sir,
Teleological historicism.
yes, sir, I apologize.
Okay, no problem. So, what is the theme of that thing? What does that theory says?
Sir, it says that history is being manipulated in accordance with one's preferences. So, for example, Marxist theory of materialism, for example, says that throughout history there have been haves and have-nots, and only the haves have dominated. So, Popper considers it as a manipulated historical version, which has been catered to Marx's own ideological whims. So, sir, that is ideological.
And what about Plato? What is the main criticism as far as Plato is concerned?
Sir, he considers that Plato provides for a philosopher king who has been given, who is all powerful and has all the powers except to change Plato's own constitution. So, Karl Popper says that even a philosopher king who is considered astoundingly brilliant in academic skills, even such a person cannot be given all the powers, and even such a monarchy would likely fuel to tyranny of sorts.
Very well. You must have studied a bit of international law also, have you?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Not so much law, sir.
Okay. Broadly speaking,
Yes, sir.
one of the popular statement is that international law is the vanishing point of jurisprudence.
Yes, sir.
What does it mean? And is it applicable in the present context?
Yes, sir. I think international law, sir, broadly refers to. I think, sir, it may have two connotations. Firstly, sir, of course, that international or global institutions like.
Why it is vanishing point? That's what I want to understand.
Sir, firstly, sir, that some states often are unwilling to accept the decisions of global organizations such as the UN. It is vanishing, sir, because there is a growing distrust towards the UN because one pole, so to speak, of Russia and China do not consider the UN to be entirely unbiased. On the other hand, US has repeatedly stated that even though the US supplies most of the expenditure and the wherewithal for the UN,
And what is the difference between international law and the municipal law, which brings us to this situation or a predicament?
sir, municipal law, sir, I'm not.
I mean,
understand.
You see, a national law and international law. What is the basic difference?
Sir, national law respects countries' sovereignty. I think comparatively more than. No, sir. I would like to rephrase.
Yeah.
There is something which is which is the crux of the thing. That is what makes it a vanishing point.
Yes, sir. Sir, international law, there are certain areas where no countries, where there is some degree of blurring of the laws, and for example, international seas, wherein no countries, wherein sort of the.
Can I give you a hint?
Yes, sir.
Enforcement.
Yes, sir, of course. The enforcement of international law is very difficult because, for example, the International Criminal Court's judgments are very rarely held to account. Similarly, sir, even though, for example, in the international seas, for example, China's cabbage strategy is often held to is often criticized, but there is no major steps that are taken against it, even though it has been said to be violation of UN clause.
Thank you.
Akshat, I have just one question with regards to political science. I was always wondering. You have to give me 4 definitions. One of the word state,
Yes.
one of the word nation,
Yes.
one of the word state nation, one of the word nation state. And also you are free to tell me if any of these are same. You are free to, and give me one example of each.
Sir, state is an organ. The Montevideo Convention defines it, wherein it comprises of 4 parts. It is a geography. No, sir, I apologize. Sir, state is the institution that governs a particular area of land with a defined population. Sir, nation is defined by the Montevideo Convention, which says that it consists of state, it consists of population, it consists of a defined geography, and it provides for a defined level of sovereignty. Sir,
State nation and nation state.
sir, sir, may I speculate? I am not sure about the.
Please go.
Sir, state nation is, I'm speculating, sir, is one wherein the state guides, the state is too dominant an entity, sort of what Hobbes and John Austin consider as monastic theory of state, wherein the state is too dominant over the rest of the country and no other entity poses a major threat. On the other hand, sir, nation state is considered wherein it is a regulated entity and a responsible member of the international.
What is India? Nation state or a state nation?
Sir, nation state.
It's a nation state. Give me an example of a state nation.
Sir, Russia, I think currently would be an example where the state dominates a lot.
I'll go through your. I've just been going through your hobbies.
Yes.
So you said you won first prize in Harry Potter for culture quiz in college.
Yes, sir.
What's the full name of the author of Harry Potter?
So Joan Kathleen Rowling.
Okay, and I was always wondering,
Yes.
why did India never have some huge character like Harry Potter? What is the difference in the West literature? We've seen Cinderellas and so on and so forth. Why not in India?
Sir, one, I think there is Lord Shiv in the Shiv trilogy of Amish Tripathi. So, sir, I think there is one. Besides that, sir, I think there is a general trend of perhaps a little imitation of the West, so that the characters are not comparatively not that interesting. I'm to speculating to a degree, sir, because reading is not one of my hobbies. Thirdly,
Reading is not your hobby, and you won first prize in Harry Potter.
sir, I was obsessed with Harry Potter in school and college, sir. So,
And you're watching movies and TV series. Is this your hobby?
yes, sir.
Okay. So, what do you know about Dada Saheb Phalke Award?
Sir, it is the highest film honor that can be
Who
bestowed.
was Dada Saheb Phalke?
Sir, he was the first. He is considered as the father of Indian cinema. He was the first person to release a feature film, which was Raja Harishchandra. It was, and he was the producer.
And who was the first recipient of Dada Saheb Phalke Award?
Sorry, sir, I'm not able to recall.
Devika Rani, have you heard?
Yes, sir, I read, but I was not.
All right. Thank you.
Okay. So you will wait in the waiting room for a few minutes and we'll call you again. Okay, for giving feedback. So have a seat, Akshat. How do you think you fare at the interview?
Sir, I think I was decent.
Okay. All right. So, Akshat, let me say at the outset that you performed quite well, and you were able to come out with good answers,
Thank you.
complete answers, and you did not bluff.
Yes. Thank you.
We found that you were mentally alert,
Yes.
and you had a good analytical power. So, pros and cons, you were able to come out with them. Your communication skills are very good,
Thank you.
except that sometimes you tend to be slightly fast in
Yes.
giving out the answers.
Yes.
Well, if you can make an attempt. When is your interview?
Sir, on 8th April.
8th April. So you still have about 7 days. Okay. No, it's okay. Sometimes if you can modify the speed at which you are delivering
Sir, I
the
have lowered it consistently, sir,
Acha, okay.
for the past 2 interviews, sir.
Okay.
So, I'm lowering it further, sir.
Okay. You have appeared at twice for the interviews?
No, sir, I meant the mock interview, sir.
The mock interviews. Okay. This is the first time you'll be appearing at
Yes, sir.
UPSC.
Yes.
Okay. So then, of course, we found that you had a very good ability to analyze the issue, and the balance of judgment was there.
Thank you, sir.
And the current affairs and the knowledge about the subject, particularly the public administration, the
Yes.
intricate things connected with that, you were able to come out with them quite well.
Thank you, sir.
You have been mentioning, you're saying, I think, repeating the word "sir" again and again.
Yes.
Yeah, that is perhaps. So you don't have to repeat too many times the "sir," and you have to wear suggestion that you wear black shoes with laces.
Okay. Okay.
That will be better, and try to avoid wearing that gold thing
Oh,
which you are wearing right
Okay.
now. Otherwise, we found that you are well mannered. You were courtesy is very much required there, and which you did. So knowledge part is very good. Skill part is very good. Attitude is also absolutely fine.
Thank you, sir.
And so I think that sums up your entire thing. You were able to come out with good answers regarding the questions which were asked to you, that is on political science. Then watching movies and TV serials also. And then, of course, there were some things which, like Jharkhand, we
Yes,
did
sir.
not ask you, but there may be questions on Jharkhand also.
Yes.
And since your communication address is in Uttar Pradesh,
Yes.
there may be a question about Uttar Pradesh
Yes.
also.
Yes.
And are you serving right now in any service?
No, sir.
You are not serving. So now, for example, the one question which was asked to you regarding the role of the unofficial actors. So
Yes.
since you are part of, you have done your public administration, so you try to use technical words. For example, the official actors and the unofficial actors.
Yes.
And the unofficial actors, you should be able to spell out the interest groups, the lobbyists,
Yes.
then pressure groups and media and political parties. So these are all, for example, the farmers' agitation
Yes,
was
sir.
also one such thing.
Yes.
So similarly, the official actors, who are the official actors,
Yes.
because the entire governance is a part of that. And you were able to talk about some of the very interesting things connected with public administration, and where you found that you were faltering, you were immediately able to correct that, which is also a good thing.
Yes.
That when you said about this definition of state and nation and
Yes.
state nation and so on. So I think that's about it. The clarity of thought is there,
Yes.
and you can. The good part is that you are able to cull out the information from within you,
Yes, sir.
think about it, and come out with the answers well. If you have any questions, you can ask us.
Sir, can I ask, sir?
Sure.
Sir, what is state nation, sir? I don't know.
Okay, I'll tell you. So let's take an example of India,
Yes.
right? So India, Assam is practically different, correct?
Hmm.
Nagaland is completely different. Goa is completely different in terms of culture. Now, how does this culture develop? Culture develops for thousands of years.
Yes.
So theory goes that should India be considered as a nation,
Yes.
or is it actually Assam plus Kerala or something or something? So nation becomes an entity
Yes.
in which these states forget about their cultural differences and submerge themselves into one feeling that we are one India.
Assimilation.
This is called as assimilation. So a very important query, because Indian Express very recently had a newspaper as a headline that is India be converted, is India a nation state or a state nation? So now please remember, Akshat, there is no country which is a state nation now. We have all converted into a nation state because our cultural entities have been all submerged into one thing. We are one nation, whether it is India or Russia or so on and so forth. But earlier there used to be a concept of state, Pataliputra state. And there was, remember in the third roundtable conference, Gandhiji was confronted with the same thing that we made India a nation. I hope you recall that part. So that is it. So we are no longer a state nation, we are a nation state. There is nothing called state nation now left. It's just a theory. It's an extinct, right? Akshat, I'll just come to one thing. I just completely forgot to ask you one question, since sir also pointed out. You will be asked questions on Jharkhand, and one of those questions will be Shibu Soren case. Can be. I hope you know Shibu Soren case.
Yes.
So please go through Office of Prophet case. Okay, Shibu Soren, Jharkhand Autonomous Area Council.
Yes.
Please read that part. Okay, please read Shibu Soren case because that was one very important Jharkhand case. Okay.
One more thing that they may ask you a question is, and that will be relevant to both UP and Jharkhand, is that after the Jharkhand was created, has there been any improvement like it happened in the case of Haryana?
Yes.
They may ask you,
Yes.
what are the positive things which have happened after that, and whether there is a case for trifurcation of Uttar Pradesh also on the same lines.
So, may I ask what should I say if that is the question?
Yeah, take out the positive things, that what has happened after Jharkhand has been created.
Yes.
The separate administrative units have been there, and many things connected with administration they have improved,
Yes.
and other things also. There will be many other things positives after it has been taken out from Bihar. So that always helps, in fact, and generally it has helped all over the country, and that is why in Uttar Pradesh also there is a case for that. One more thing which I was going to ask you is that since you said specifically that your father is wanting you to become an IAS officer.
Yes.
Your father is a superintendent of police.
So he retired.
He retired. So they may ask this question, that he belongs to a police, and why does he want you to become an IAS officer? Any particular reason? So this kind of question sometimes may be asked.
Yes.
That why not IPS in the first place? Then if your father he wants to become an IAS officer, so that kind of question may also be there. That's about it. One more thing I would like to say, that since you belong to a family of public servants, so you will have to have a first-hand knowledge about how the administration works.
Yes.
And sometimes the relation between the district magistrate and the supreme police. What are the district officers which are there, different departments, and so the entire working of the district administration is something which you will have to know. So otherwise, I think everything is fine, and you should score very well in that. Our best wishes to you.
Good day.
Thank you.
Unacademy. Let's crack it.